Good afternoon, everybody. I apologise for my croaky voice today on the video. I've been full of cold all week, and I'm pretty much on the mend today, so I can actually speak and not fall asleep every 5 minutes. So there we go. What I'm going to do today is take a live deep dive into Helix Ultimate 2, which is basically an empty, a blank template framework for Joomla. It's one I use on every single site that I create. And I know there's an awful lot of settings now in there that some of you may not know about, might want to know about. And for those who've never seen it before at all, I hope you find it useful. If you're watching me live, drop me a hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, hashtag replay. And as always, if you have any questions at any point during the video, drop them in the comments. If I can't come back to them today, I'll certainly revisit them again in the future and let you know the answers that I can find for you. So here we go. So in simple terms, if I look at the JoomShaper website, Helix Ultimate 2 is basically a template framework, an empty one, although stuff by default, like your colors, your logo, and some of the core layouts of the page. But there's an awful lot of settings in there nowadays, and let's have a look through. So within your backend of Joomla, if you go to extensions and then templates, and then click on Shaper Helix Ultimate and warm up button for template options. What we've now got in Helix Ultimate 2 versus the original version 1 is a more dynamic and kind of almost live change view. So we can use this view here to look at what we change, and at the top we've got the ability to look at this as a desktop, a tablet, and also a mobile screen layout as well. So we get quite a lot of options in there to play with as we're going through. We can check as we do things. So into the basic settings, every one of these we click on slides out with a different set of options. And the basic one covers places where we can set the logo. As far as I can, I always prefer nowadays to use an SVG file for the logo. It's in vector, it keeps it pin sharp on any screen size and resolution you use. And you can literally select it, and either one you've already got, select it and put it in, or you can upload within here a different file if you need to. The standard Joomla Media Manager doesn't actually use or doesn't support SVG to upload. This does. So we can upload, select and add them. And for the sake of it, I always add Retina logo and a mobile logo as well, although if you just set one, it does reuse them across the board. And I'm just going to put that back to my blue and black one. Further down, we can now set the logo alt text, which is great. Business name if you want, or something more useful if you want to as well. And we can set the logo height on this bit. Now, what we couldn't do before, but we can do now, is as I change the view here, it also changes the height and the settings to apply to that view. So at the moment on tablet, we can change the logo height on tablet, for example, and save it, and it updates this live as we're watching. If we go to mobile, what you'll see at the moment is the logo width spans across the height of the header, which knocks the menu to the bottom. So on mobile, again, I can set the logo height lower to play with it, and it now brings that up and levels these two. So this little ability now to jump between the layouts is really great to work with. Further down again, we can set the fav icon, which is what shows up in the browser tab. Pet hate of mine, set a fav icon. It's an extra little bit of polish on your websites. It seems to be more common with WordPress than Joomla, but don't leave the default Joomla one there unless you've got a Joomla website about Joomla and you want to do it. Again, you can use SVG here as well, or just a PNG file. If you keep them square, if it's not SVG, it does mean make sure that they work nice and neatly in there as well. Further down in here now, what we've got the ability to choose from in Helix Ultimate 2 is an awful lot of different header styles. So call it header, menu, whatever section you want to call it at the top. So we can click these and actually now get a live preview of how they look. So we've got full width left, full width center. I haven't got them yet. It'll put the little social icons across to match if you want them. We can now do a multi-row header, which puts the logo and the contact details section at the top with the menu beneath centered. We can do something I'm not so keen on, which is a left modal. Although saying that it's got its uses, this now fills up the whole screen width when you click it down from there. Personally, from a user experience perspective, on a desktop, I'm not so fussed. I think the menu should be always visible on desktop to click without a secondary click to get to the menu list. But it's quite a neat little feature, and don't get me wrong, it looks quite nice. We've got a center modal as well, again, which applies these in. I haven't got some of these things turned on, but this, if we click it down now, we get the search bar and a vertical menu down the middle. And also, as you see, I can move this around to play with what I'm doing. Full modal, which again is similar. It's just a different way of doing it. It's got the drop down with the search box, contact details, and menus on the left. Back to a more standard layout, which is where we've got the normal menu and you've got the logo and the top bar along the top with the social icons and the contact details on. And then classic layout, a bit similar to the others, but it's again social icons and the logo to the left hand side. So you can select any of these, and if you want to actually update it on the live site, save it, and then the live site if you want. So I'll change one now, do multi-row, save, and then my live site here, if I just refresh the page, we'll see that brought through in terms of the style. I'm going to pop that back to the minimal layout, which I tend to use more often. And again, home page, fresh, back to where we were before. Have any of those comments? Hello, Marin, good to see you again. So next one down, we've got the presets. So by default, we can choose some colors that JoomShaper have already set. So I can basically disable custom style, and literally by clicking any of these existing colors, it's going to apply green, purple, and you can edit these if you wish to. I'm never quite sure why you would do this as an edit rather than just a custom style, but it's up to you. You can do. I tend to use a custom style because this lets us now set, if we have it in place, the top bar color, text color at the top bar, the header, which is your menu. So if you want a colored background to your menu, I'm going to pick some random color there. And I'm going to go to the home page and refresh that one. So what I'm doing there is I'm doing Control Shift and R, which completely reloads a full set of code back from the server, and refreshes the browser completely. Okay, again, we can set that back to there. Now, what this never used to do, and it still doesn't actually, is we can't set transparency at this point, which is a shame. That does need a little bit of CSS tweaking to do that, but anyway, we can set the background color there. We go down to the menu, we can set the text color for the main menu items, the hover color, the active color, and if we have them, the drop down menu background settings as well for the background color, text, hover, and active. Again, down to the body, we can set the text for the body font. Again, if we wanted to, we can set the background color to something to suit us. That might be quite useful if you want to do like more of a dark mode site, where you might want to have the body color as white, the background color as maybe a gray, a link color might be a light gray. Let's have this as a white for hover. So if I wanted to do that one and save it, go back to my home page, Control Shift R. That might be more suitable for dark mode site, for example, where you might want to do it that way just to bring a bit in. And you could bring the menu color the same, darker, whatever else, and play with those to do what you want. But I'm going to just put those back to something I can actually read. I'll just save those. The only little bit here is you don't see all this sometimes in the settings at the back end. You've got to literally Control Shift R this page to see them on there, which is why I tend to have another site tab open with the live site on at the same time for the sake of it. And lastly, again, we've got the footer. So the same ideas. We can set the background color, the text color, link color, and hovers just to identify and work with anything in this bottom section at the bottom of it here. So that's those ones. Again, down into layout. And normally don't need to play with this one. Obviously, the header layout at the top is set by the presets at the moment. I'm going to come back and do another video in the future on how to create your own custom menu layouts at the top. which is a little bit more involved, but certainly not as difficult as it might seem. We've got the title, which is what would be underneath the menu item at the top. The bottom, which would be not on my site, they're not live, but we've got a 4 grid row just above the footer. And also the footer is split into footer 1 and footer 2, which at the moment contains a copyright and a link I've got on the right to the privacy and cookies policy. I might do a full revisit. I have covered this in another video actually, where we can create custom footers and use a page builder module to build our own footer layout as we need to, but this is the default one. The menu, again, we can select which Joomla menu is the menu for the top at the main menu level. We can edit the mega menu as well, change how this looks for drop downs and stuff, change the width of the drop down. So sometimes if you've got drop downs from a header at the top and you've got a longer word length or a longer character length in the titles of the pages and it drops to 2 lines, you might want to set this up to higher than the default 240, so you might want to put 300 in, try it and see when it pops back onto a single line. And also the off canvas one, we didn't need to do this so much in the same way for Helix Ultimate 1, but now we've got to select and actually choose an off canvas menu style, otherwise it doesn't show. So if I go to the mobile view now, we've got a lot of different layout options. I quite like this. I think this just brings a little bit more professionalism, I guess, and content to the menu side. We can choose any of those 3, and it applies them to review on there as well, however you want to use them. We can enable the search, login, disable or enable social links contact, and as we do these, that brings the search box and the login to the menu. Or again, if you want, you can turn them off. It's entirely up to you what you want to do with those ones. Now typography is the one which is another really good one. What I'm going to show you initially is all the way at the bottom. Where's it gone? Advanced, is it? Yeah. In the Advanced tab, we've got font settings and we've got a Google Font API. Now, the typography in Helix Ultimate has access to the Google Fonts listing, but it only has them if you've actually got the full API link. What I'll do in the video is I'll pop a link to where you can sign up to that and get your API key. It is free, and once you've enabled it and updated the fonts list, you've actually got hundreds of fonts to choose from the Google Fonts directory. So we've got all the way at the top. We can start with the body font, and again we can choose from any of the Google fonts that it's got in its list. Plenty there to pick from. If we want to, we can set the weight, the size, the font colors, spacing, line height, alignment, anything else that goes with it. The same for heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you don't set anything but the body font, to my knowledge, it basically picks up the body font and it will use it for the headings as well. Sometimes it's quite nice to have a separate body font versus the heading font, just for a little bit of aesthetic styling on there as to suit you as you need to do. Now what you can do now, and again this is a nice little feature, is if you now change the layout type you're looking at, desktop, tablet or mobile, you can set the font size based upon the device you're on. So as you can see, now it will hierarchy this. So if you set 16 for desktop, it will use that for mobile and tablet as well. But you can, if you want, you can change the font sizes across them all. I've got a comment there from, apologies if I get your pronunciation wrong. Is it Azadola or is it Quasi? I know some names are last first. Figma, I've never used Webflow, although I've seen it enough a little bit in videos, but I've never used it. It's much of a muchness. You've basically got all of your core settings in here to look at the basic styles of your website, for fonts, headers, everything else. If we go down, we've also got the navigation font, being the menu. The only thing that I wish they would bring to this was the ability to have a little icon button that says capitals, because I frequently use capital letters for the menu words, but by the by. But again, you can set the font style, the weight, all sorts of different ones in there. And if you want to get into it, you can use custom CSS to apply to specific CSS selectors on your website. That's where we go. Um, that's the fonts. Another bit I don't tend to use, but I'm looking at this in a bit more detail now, is we can also set the styling for the blog layouts within Joomla. So if you've got a page menu item that links to an article blog, we can look at the way the thumbnails and the images are used and the sizes of them, the quality of the images, which is really interesting. So when it crops its images down, we can set this perhaps to more like, I tend to use 60 nowadays. You can barely tell a difference at all. We can set a lot of things about the image that's used for the listing, the leading article images, whether you want to show tags, what details you're going to show on the articles themselves, progress bars, rated articles, comments. There's all sorts of bits and bobs in there, and it's, to be honest, it's a really nice little feature if you want to use the core article functionality of Joomla to manage your blog and your content. You know, you've got an awful lot of customization there to do that. What else have we got in here? Next one down is custom code. Nothing here to show, but for example, if you've got Google Analytics tags, I know there is a place now in here we can actually drop the Google Analytics tag ID, but I'm not sure yet whether that's compatible with the latest updates to Google Analytics, which is Tag Manager. But however, you can paste your tracking code in there at the head, for example, or after or before body. And if you've got any custom CSS to apply, you can pop it in the custom CSS box. Now I've got a big old folder full of little CSS tweaks, which I will show you on here. So for example, I mentioned about the capital letters on the main menu font uppercase. So by default, it's always case sensitive, as in it's got uppercase and then it's camel cases if I'm right. But if I drop this little bit in there and save it, that's that custom CSS now applies to the menu, and I've gone capital letters for the menu. So this could be anything from setting your headers to transparent, whatever you want as custom CSS to apply for the whole website. You can pop it in here. I'm going to take it out again for now and save it. And again, the same for custom JavaScript. Sometimes you might have some code to embed for a pop-up or a widget from a provider. You can drop that in there. And again, this applies to every page of the website. So this point will apply and show whatever that JavaScript does. It will be on every page of your site, regardless of whether it's a plugin or a Joomla article. Now we're down to the advanced one. So when I'm building a site, I leave compression turned off. I actually use a different plugin now for compression from JCH Optimize Pro. However, natively, Helix does support compression of CSS and JavaScript. It certainly works well if you've got a site with no particularly complex extensions in there. I do find sometimes, because you can't control exclusions within this, it does on occasion conflict and it will break some things. So I tend to use JCH now because I've got more flexibility. But for a basic site, these two settings are great to use. Certainly, again, when you're in development, compiler CSS to CSS needs to be turned on. Officially, once your site is live, if you disable this, it does marginally speed up page load times because it's not having to process that compilation every time the page loads, which is a nice little feature. Font settings, we can enable Font Awesome if you need to. Because I'm using PageBuilder from JoomShaper as well, that does load Font Awesome, so I don't need to do it in two places. But if it didn't, I was using this with a blank Joomla articles or anything else like that, didn't have a page builder in there, we can enable Font Awesome, and it will give you access to them. Again, the Google Fonts API. I'll pop this link in the comments for you, but you can go there for free and sign up to access the Google Fonts listings within Helix. And every time I click update, that will literally pull down the latest list of fonts into the listings, so that when I'm in the typography section, I can actually now choose from them. In the images, I can also enable lazy loading, which means the image on the page will not load until that part of the page is scrolled to. So again, it's another little page speed improvement in terms of the load time. You're not having to load every single part of the page. When you're browsing, it'll only load the bit you can see. Google, again, does like that in terms of your settings. For me, I use that within JCH, but it's there. If you've got settings in here you want to export and take to another website using Helix Ultimate as well, you can export these as a JSON, and then in the other website, click import, browse and import the file, the JSON file, and it will pull all those settings straight through. It's not for importing any random JSON, it's just for Helix Ultimate 2 generated ones in there. And analytics, again, you can pop the UA code in there. As I say, I need to check up if that will still work with Tag Manager. I suspect it might need that put into the custom code before head, in there if need to. And there we are. So that is a bit of a walkthrough of all the settings that are there by default within Helix Ultimate. As you can tell, there's a lot, but they're all straightforward enough. I think they're all visually presented, and they've all got, a lot of them have got this little eye icon you can click just to kind of let you know what they all are if you don't know what they are, or you need a little bit of a reminder. What I'm going to touch on while I'm in there, since it's 20 minutes into the video, I'll do another couple. Quite frequently you might want a custom footer in your website. Now, by default, if you look at the layout in here, the footer's split into two. So what I can do is I can click this little grid and I can say, all right, I only want that as a full width row. And that's now set as footer 1. And you'll notice that my copyright icon link has gone because it's taken out the footer 2 module position. So I'm going to save that one. I'm going to go into basic and I'm going to take out my footer text, and that's now gone. So I'm going to save that again and close that down. And on my live site now, you'll see that my footer is empty. So if I go to my modules in the back end and I do a new module, and I'm going to do an SP PageBuilder module. This is a free trick at the end for you all to watch. Footer, menu assignment, all, hide the title, and I'm going to set the position as footer from footer 1 from Shaper Helix Ultimate. I save that now, and I've now got the ability to add and manage this as if it was a page builder page or whatever. So say I now want to have a foot at the bottom, and I'm going to put a little bit of text in there, and I'm going to take out a lot of this because I don't want, I'm going to leave some of this Latin in for the sake of using it. I'm going to take all that out, but I want that in the center. I actually want the text color to be white, and I'm going to save that. And now for my footer, there we go. I've now started to build a custom footer layout at the bottom. So as with Page Builder, as a page, I can go to the row options and I can start to take out, if I don't need it, the padding. I can now start to say, oh, I want a logo in the footer as well. So I can say, right, I'm going to pop an image in, choose an image, upload a file. What am I going to put in there? Free look at all of my ones. I'm going to put in a little PNG. I'm going to put a white one in. Again, centered. Really simple. It's a bit big, that one, but if I was going to be really picky, I can go in there and say, right, let's make this auto for the left and right margins, take out the bottom, and then in advanced, I can say custom add and width, and I make that 25%. And yeah, so there, I mean, that's a really basic route, but you can build a footer. Anything you can do page builder, you can do as your custom footer of the website as well. And I do find that really useful to literally build a custom layout at the bottom and do what you want with it. So there we go. That's a freebie in terms of custom footers, but that's a bit of a hint as well how we create our own custom header at the top for the menu layout and the logo and stuff as well. So anyway, I hope you found that useful. If you pop any questions in that, if you watched it through and you want to know a bit more about something, drop me a comment in the comments here. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. And provisionally, I'm going to have a look next week at a blank installation of Joomla 4 from scratch. I can't decide whether I'm going to do it two ways. One will just be the raw Joomla download, and the second one may be the option to use the JoomShaper Helix Ultimate. I'm not sure if they've got one. I'm going to have to see if they've got a quick start for Joomla 4 yet. But other than that, I will see you next week. And thank you for watching. Hello, Giovanni. Glad you enjoyed that one. And see you again in the future. Thank you. Bye bye.